Hi Anna.
Hello.
Good to see you. I've got Chris over here somewhere. Oh, if I move,
Sorry.
the camera may follow me.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to keep this quite informal. You've got nothing to worry about. We'll have a little chit chat, bits and pieces. I know Chris is saying you're a bit concerned about it. There's nothing to be concerned about it. The most important thing is just sharing your pathway of understanding, because I sort of tend to work with so many different people who've got abilities but don't fully understand them.
Right.
And obviously it took a little while for you to go, hey, this must be real. It's not just in my mind. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good. So what I'm going to do is just chat to you about how long you've been doing it, what started you, some of it I already know, but it's just really a little chat, which is a good thing in some ways. So you're still quite a young lady, so what got you into this? Did you wake up one morning and have an experience, or was it just something that came to you?
Actually, it was incredibly gradual.
Yeah.
It started a few years ago, and it was actually my dreams.
All right.
They were starting to come true, and they became more vivid, and they had messages in them.
All right.
And it all became very, very interesting. And I started to keep a blog. I would write them all down.
Yeah.
And I didn't think much of it though, saying that. I was just mulling along, doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And then I think it was probably a few years went by, and then they kind of upped a notch, and the things that were coming true weren't just little day-to-day things. They actually started to become big things, and things there's no way I could have predicted.
All right. Was this predictions for you, or was it predictions for other people?
For me and for other people.
Okay.
I mean, one good example was my boss. I had a dream that he was going to die within the year, which sounds tragic, and it was. And he did indeed he caught cancer and died really quickly.
Right.
And it's just many things like that.
That's difficult, isn't it? Because that's such a big responsibility to have that insight, and then perhaps even have the ability or want to have the ability to tell someone that.
Yeah.
Scary stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
But lots of other stuff as well, though. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, so I was writing my dream blog, and then it wasn't long after that. I was pretty much just lying in bed. I wasn't asleep, but I was sort of half dozing.
Yeah.
And just literally out of the blue, someone started talking to me, and I just thought, oh, this
is spooky.
I just thought this is really, really silly, and
Yeah.
there's got to be a reasonable explanation for it. I actually googled it first thing the next morning, and I was actually really sort of deflated when the first set of pages just said that it's your mind getting ready to shut down for sleep, and maybe a part of your brain was still active.
Yeah.
That's what I put it down to.
So you realise it wasn't, though, because you must have had more reoccurrences.
Yeah, well, it started to happen again and again. So I actually kept a diary under my pillow, and I had this cool pen that had like a little torch on the end. So I'd on and off all night for weeks and weeks and weeks. Don't know what my husband thought of that, but he thinks I'm nuts anyway, so he probably just thought that was Anna being Anna.
Yeah.
But I'd write everything down
Yeah.
because I didn't want to forget it. And then I started keeping a blog of the voices.
Yeah.
I was running 2 blogs, and then I think me and my friend decided one day that we talked about it for a while, but we thought we'd do it. Let's book a reading. Let's have a clairvoyant reading.
Right.
And I think that was when everything started to make sense, and it kind of snowballed from there, really.
Yeah. So when you heard this voice, I mean, you're hearing the voice in your head, aren't you? Or do you feel you're hearing it out here like clairaudient? How do you hear it? Is it someone talking to you, hear it, or do you hear it in your mind?
It varies. Sometimes it does actually sound like they're talking to me.
Right.
And then sometimes it does sound like it's in my head.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out the difference between clairvoyance and clairaudience. Clairaudience is where you'll hear it coming to you, but sometimes you hear it in here. I understand that because I work in a similar way, but it's to help those who go, well, I'm not quite sure how I heard it, but I knew I heard it.
Yeah.
And has it been the same person most of the time? Have you got, say, might want to call it a guide? Is it the same person that's talking to you all the time that says, you need to do this, you need that, this is for this person?
sometimes it has just been one person talking to me.
Yeah.
But I have to say, in the main, it's lots of different people coming in and out. So I can hear men, women, children. They've got different accents.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like,
Wow, that's good.
1 minute a guy from the Caribbean, and then the next like some old lady from London. It's really random.
Wow. And are these the people that you draw that are communicating with you, or is that something separate?
I think it's something separate. I mean, I think this was just spirit showing me
Yes.
that this is happening.
Yeah, that's good. And with this happening, do you sit specifically for that, or is this happening when you're going off to sleep or waking, or do you say, right, today I'm going to work, and you sit and you wait for them to come to you now? Is it more controlled, or is it still quite random?
It's still quite random. It's still mainly when I'm in bed, although I have been out and about and
Oh, right.
things.
So you have to keep it here if you're out and about, because you can't sit and draw and write. Do you take it like a recorder and record it at all, or just write it down?
No, I've stopped writing it down now because
Oh, right.
it was just too much.
So do you have an element of control over this? Do you say, like, I want to work today at 3 o'clock or 12 o'clock, and it's your time to come through, or is it still very random to you?
Well, I don't get it so much in the day, but at night I think I can't really switch it off. I do try.
Okay.
I try to shut down, but if they want to come through, they will come through. And
Right.
I find it's more active when I'm in hotels or I'm staying at someone's house. I don't get a minute's peace.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow. And how does your husband cope with all this, if he's out with you? He understands that sort of?
No. He, unfortunately, he is a total non-believer.
All right.
Which obviously does make things a little bit more difficult. But he's supportive. I mean, when I had a bad experience in a hotel once, and he was amazing.
Good.
So he was really, really good with me, even though he didn't get it.
No. Well, I mean, that sometimes happens. Sometimes people are put with people who don't fully understand, but maybe in this lifetime are there to learn by that experience. Because he loves you and what you do, he accepts that for the only reason of that, because you're the connection to him, and therefore he's giving him an insight, whether he wants it or not, into what you do.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. No, I understand that perfectly, because 22 years ago I had the same, a lady come along, she became my wife in a very short period of time. We were married within 3.5 months. I proposed within 1 day, and she followed this pathway. And although she's been with it, and she's been in the meditation groups, she's part of the church, all of those sort of things, she doesn't still quite get it. She'll probably shoot me for saying this, but it's true. She's a great person for the church, great personality, does all the jobs I'd ever ask her to do. But on a real deeper spiritual level, she goes, well, yeah, I think I got this, but So I think sometimes we're put together with people who are not quite up to where we are, and I don't mean that as an ego, but on a spiritual awareness side, but they accept it because they love that person and draw that energy from that.
I actually think, if I'm honest, me and my husband wouldn't work if he was a full believer.
Right.
Because he's the kind of one that grounds me.
Oh, good. Well, maybe you need that, because you're getting information and connections all over the place when you're in hotels and people's houses and late at night. I'd be terrible, because I'd say, no, you must switch on at this time and switch on that time. And you don't operate like you're quite a free spirit or a free angel. How you work, you just make that connection. So has it changed over the years, that type of communication? Do you do spiritual drawings as well?
Yeah, but that's mainly like if I'm working for a client, I'll like do a proper meditation
Right.
to tune in better. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing.
No, I understand that. I do the same. So why don't you do it with the voices? Why don't you go, no, listen, boys and girls, I'm working at this time and I'm not working this time, I switch it off? Or do you feel you would lose that?
Well, because it's not so bad in the day, it doesn't really interfere when I do my work.
Yeah.
It's normally at night when they become really active.
Yeah.
I do get the odd night where it's really quiet, and I find it comforting. It doesn't
Oh, that's okay.
bother me at all.
That's the way you work then. Mm-hmm. And do you see spirit or orbs or energy build up in the room? What do you see with your own eyes? Obviously the third eye I'm talking about.
Third eye. Well, at night I can see it.
Like if
I
you're
see
sitting.
my third eye when I work, when I do my meditations,
Yeah.
or if I'm not in meditation, if I just concentrate and I can get stuff. But at night, it's just literally when I shut my eyes, or sometimes if the room is dark enough, I can just see the faces.
Oh, right.
Just literally right there.
And do they come to you and like talk to you? Or are they just there and they're giving you information? How does that communication work for you? Do they come and say, well, my name is Lucy and I did this and I did that? Or do they just come in for a little bit of information and they back off? Or is there a crowd of them? Too many questions, I know.
Again, it varies. So at times, it probably sounds really daunting, but it's not. It doesn't bother me at all.
No, I can see it doesn't.
I've seen hundreds of faces,
Right.
and I can see them all looking at me.
Yep.
And then one face will zoom in, and I can see all their features, and then they'll fade away, and then another one will come in, and then sometimes, again, it's so random and completely different. Then I'll see somebody as like a black and white photograph, like they're posed for a photograph.
Yeah.
And then I lock it in my mind, and if I want to draw it the next day, I will. Or
Oh, right. So you can hold that image as long as to the next day and still draw. It's almost like a photographic memory where they've dropped the information into. You held it, and the next day you can draw it.
yeah, well, yeah, I had a guy wearing a suit and a moustache once, and I decided to draw him about 2 months later.
Wow.
It's just still kind of there until they're drawn.
And once they're drawn, does that go? Or do you still have remnants of those people?
Then starts to fade.
All right.
And it would become incredibly difficult to like get features. And then it will just go eventually.
All right. So once the job is done, they realise that, and their image disperses, is like an old photograph would fade, or the file's been deleted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
And around you, I can see some of your pictures. I guess you must have drawn the different people that have come through.
Yeah, this is my workshop.
Oh, right, yeah. So all of these people on the wall, they're ones that have come through for someone else, is it? Is it someone come for a reading, or you've got that link with someone else? They're specific to the client, are they?
Yeah, most of the ones on the wall are kind of some of my favourites, and
Good.
they are from clients, and they're there for like inspiration. I just find it helps.
Well,
and
yeah.
Then there's a couple of them which are my guides. Like I've got my main guide, Matt. He's right above my desk.
Right.
I've got him right there.
Good. And your guide, Matt, how long have you known him, or how long has he made his presence felt to you?
About nearly 3 years. I actually saw him in the bedroom doorway, just an apparition.
Yeah.
Wearing a snazzy, sort of crazy red shirt and waving at me.
Oh, right. Wow, that's good. So he's your main guardian angel, guide, helper, however you want to label him, who allows the others to come in, I suppose, and probably stands back a little bit to allow that interaction. Is that correct? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, but I've also got, obviously we've all got lots of guides, but
yes.
I've got a very, very good spiritual team, and I know I've got artists on my team.
Yes.
So
yeah.
That's very good.
And have you ever drawn before, when you were like at school or college, or was drawing part of your gambit? Did you like drawing, or was it something you've learnt to draw as they've come through, they've guided you with that?
Well, actually, as a child, I was always drawing faces. Rubbish at drawing bodies and hands and things like that. It was always faces.
Yeah.
And it's only like now I'm an adult and you look back and think about these things, I think, why was I drawing all those faces?
Yeah.
You know, they were straight out of my mind.
Yeah.
It makes you question whether something was switched on then.
Oh, I think you're probably right. And what about as a very young child or a baby? Do you have any memories of seeing guides or different people from the spirit world?
I didn't see guides. What I did see, and it might sound a bit strange, but it's what I saw. As long as I can remember, so I'd be lying in bed and I could just see stuff floating around the room, and they were like objects, and it was really, really fascinating and pretty to watch.
Oh, right.
And I just assumed it was normal. My sister's on the top bunk. I thought she was watching it, and it was like jewellery and just silver objects and really, really pretty things. And I remember one night there was a toy train hovering above my head, and I went to grab it, and it wasn't there.
Yeah.
And just definitely being quite intuitive with going into someone's house and not feeling right, and having a strong sense if there was a presence, that kind of thing.
So
Which I think actually a lot of young children, are good at doing.
Yeah. Because they're not relying on the verbal etiquette they have. They're relying on their senses, as a child would. So you either feel good, bad, or indifferent, and it's not based on what you see. It's based on what you feel.
Yeah, I think a lot of children are quite switched on.
Yeah.
Then it unfortunately kind of leaves you as you go into adulthood.
Yeah, but that's normal. It's meant to do that around adolescence time, different for boys and girls. And then it will come back on, because otherwise, if you're so stuck into the spiritual thing, you won't learn anything, whatever your trade is in life. And that is a common thing for, young boys, young girls. They will lose that connection, and probably in their 20s or 30s will suddenly it'll all come rushing back in here. Now they've done their studies or been through most part of it.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened for me. It just went completely to the wayside.
Yeah,
and
that's just how it should be. Because otherwise, whatever you were doing in your studies, your school, your college, whatever you did, you wouldn't concentrate on it. You'd be still stuck in that spiritual loop almost, or world of connecting to that. So they had to make sure that you learnt your studies, you took your qualifications, whatever you did, or you followed your career. That's how important that is. So that's good. Now, is your mum clairvoyant or psychic or intuitive, or is it a grandmother? Because usually it follows through the family somewhere.
Well, I wondered whether it was from my mum's side, because my nan used to do tea leaves and things.
That could be from your nan then.
And also my auntie, her sister, she's a healer, but I've been told actually it's through my dad.
Oh, right.
I'm not really sure.
So is your dad aware of this side? Because it's not always men. There's very few men that there are some, but very few compared to women that pick up that spiritual ability.
Well, he's not here anymore, and I never ever got that side of him. He was quite a serious man and never giving away emotions or anything. So
right.
That's not something I could, even if he was here now, I don't think he'd probably even let on.
No.
But I've spoken to him a lot in spirit through mediums and clairvoyance, and he's very, very supportive, and he does help me in my spiritual work.
Good. I mean, it certainly sounds that you have a connection with your father, even if he's moved on. Same with mine, went about 35 years ago. But it was, for me, it was my link with my mother. My mother did the tea leaves, so she taught me how to do it, and I just developed on all those sort of things. And we did many other things that probably today you wouldn't do it, a bit like the Ouija board and stuff like that. We did that, and we did it with prayers, and we never had a problem in all the years we did it. We did it with the Lord's Prayer. We opened and we did it. But I don't, I probably even shouldn't be saying this, but I don't recommend that for anyone, because it's a bit of an open door. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't treat it with respect.
Yeah, well, that's the difference, isn't it? People think
they play with it. Yeah, it's an open door that there should be open doors sometimes. But definitely, I think more than likely it's from your mother or your grandmother that you've got your link. Not to say your dad wasn't an actuator for it, but usually it follows through the female side of the family and can skip to the male if it's there. It came to me, my sister is 2 years younger than me, but she still doesn't have a clue about it in the nicest possible way. She knows it can be done, but it's not her bag, so she'll ask for a reading or she'll ask for this. So maybe it's the influence from your mother and your grandmother. And have they come through to you at all? I mean, your mother's here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm talking about your grandmother. Is your grandmother still around?
She's deceased, but I've seen visions of her, and she comes through in dreams, and I do have a gut feeling that it's through her. So what I feel rather than maybe what I've been told, but.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I would say that whoever you speak to on a holistic pathway, take everything with a pinch of salt. I will say that when I talk to people, either keep it or throw it away. Take it with a pinch of salt what I say, because it might not be for you. I might have got it wrong. You're listening, you get the link wrong. and what feels right to you will be your own truths you're discovering.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you see your role changing as you go forward? Now, you're established it with what you do with, they call it a psychic artist, but I think you're more of a spiritual artist. The psychic artist, it's a term I've been used to for the last sort of almost 40 years, but I think your vibration is of a spiritual energy and not a psychic. You don't come across as a psychic at all, although they might call it psychic artistry. I don't know how you describe it, or a spiritual drawing. How would you describe your work?
I personally describe it as a spirit artist.
Good.
But for example, if I'm talking to somebody, if I say spirit artist, they haven't got a clue.
Say psychic.
It's easier to say psychic artist.
Absolutely.
But no, it's a spirit artist.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sometimes it's a phrase that people are used to. If we don't book very many psychic artists because there's not many psychic artists around. For where we are, because you're a long way from Milton Keynes, aren't you, basically? So where do you think your role's going to change in the next 5 years? Do you want it to change? Do you want to develop it something different? I mean, do you run classes, or how does it run for you?
I've got lots of ideas in the pipeline, and it's just getting them to manifest. I mean, my children are still young, so I can't quite, I've got to, they come first, basically.
Quite right, yes.
Put spirituality second sometimes. So, I mean, I can see spirit animal totems. So sometimes, like, I'll write about those with a portrait, like an animal's come through.
Yeah.
I also sometimes see multiple guides. I won't just see one. Several will come in.
Right.
And I've been told eventually I will be drawing the whole spiritual team.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to go down the route of possibly putting some of my visions and the places I've been actually onto paper. I've seen some amazing stuff, and I want to put that on paper.
Yeah.
It's not just spirit guides.
Yeah. Do you ever use any? There's an app on my phone. There's a gentleman that going back over almost like 10 years. He used to say, Adrian, I feel I want to scribble, but I don't know what I want to do with it. And I said, well, keep scribbling. He had a biro and a pen. He kept doing that. And after keep practicing, faces or shapes appeared. And he's moved out of this country. He lives in Spain at this moment in time. But he still communicates, but he uses an app on his phone. I think I've got it. I can't remember the name, and perhaps I shouldn't be advertising it anyway. Where he uses his finger and it sort of leaves an echo of where he's drawn, and he puts colour to it, and they're really quite phenomenal. And I've had one or two people in meditation groups copying that process, just doing the same, and produce something really quite incredible. But I guess, are you just pen to paper for most of yours?
In the main, yeah. I mean, I dabble in pastels and watercolours. It's pretty much whatever I've got to hand to make it look like a decent portrait. I mean, if it means using a Sharpie, I will.
Right.
as long as it looks good. But yeah, I prefer using
the manual tools of a pen or paper or colour brushes or whatever you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I've tried digital art. I mean, I studied as a graphic designer, so I probably should be really good at it. But when it comes to drawing faces, I just can't master it on the computer.
Oh, right. So it's almost as if your hand's being guided a little bit for you to do that. Although you're used to doing it, and you probably see it's you doing it. You mentioned that there was artists on the other side that's probably helping you with that.
Yeah, and I've noticed over the last couple of years that portraits can change. One portrait might not look in the same style as the previous set I've done, and I strongly believe that's because a new guide has come in, or just another one's decided to step forward.
Yeah.
So I add loads of colour. It's all in colour and a completely different style, which is, I find, fascinating.
Well, I think it is, because it might be just, as you say, different guides coming in to help you with it, and they want to pass on their skill set of their artistry through your mediumship, because you're being used as a medium to have an output onto paper or however you're drawing.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever thought about writing a book on what you're doing, that sort of thing?
Oh gosh, it's flickered through my mind. I think I I still feel like quite a newbie, so I'm thinking maybe down the line,
Right.
that would be really nice. That would be special.
But when you say you're a newbie, I mean, how long have you been doing this as a job then?
Well, my website went live 2 years ago, and and it's been going really, really well.
Good.
And yeah, it's quite overwhelming, and it got a lot of interest, and it went into 2 magazines. So thankfully, people like what I do.
Yes. Well, it is very specialised, isn't it? Because I over the years, I've probably only known 1 or 2. I think Coral Poge, I think, was one of them. I remember going back many years, and she worked at our church. She came to our church and did things all those years ago. But we don't see many. It's not a talent that comes out spiritually from many people, because they're all, I'm going to say, they're all in their head. It's all mediumship. It comes out that way. But to see something like a drawing and establish that person who was passed over, as I call it, promoted to head office, they've come through, and it's so nice to see that, because it's tactile. You've got it, isn't it?
Yeah, I get such a buzz when it's finished.
Yes.
And I just I hope that the client likes it, and I always get a good response, and so I'm really thankful for that.
Because it's almost like a natural gift to you, isn't it? It's something you've grown up with, that this just suddenly blossomed and develops, and now this is your spiritual skill set, or your toolkit that comes out. You got your website, the clients come in, you do your drawings and bits and pieces. It's almost become as if it was on your karmic pathway for you to do this.
Yeah, well, now I look back and I piece it all together. Absolutely, I was told in readings that I would be doing this, and at the time I was like, nah. I can't see that at all. And I remember when I was actually in my first reading that I mentioned earlier, she said, "You're going to be working from home. It's going to be creative," but she couldn't put her finger on it.
Yeah.
And then the following readings, even with other mediums or clairvoyants, they said, "This is what you're going to be doing," and I was like, "No, I don't think so."
No.
And I said, "I just want to work with my clairaudience."
Yeah.
I wasn't interested.
No.
And it wasn't until I went to a 3-day event, a mind, body, and spirit show called the Healing Weekend.
Right.
And there were loads of spirit artists there and psychic artists, and I know this sounds probably a bit terrible.
No, I know what you're going to say.
Jealousy is not a good thing, but in the pit of my stomach, I was jealous as hell, and something clicked, and I just thought, I really want to do that, and I just had this overwhelming feeling, that's what I got to do, and I really want to do it. And I knew it was going to be hard work, but I was hell-bent on doing it. Good.
And that's obviously what you were meant to go to, that event, to inspire you to take this spiritual ability and get it out there, and show them that you're a normal person like everyone else, but you have a specialised toolkit on the spiritual sense that you can be a spirit artist.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you'd be really good at running workshops, and I think you'd be really good.
A lot of people said that.
I think, well, to be honest, don't wait for another 10 years before you do it, but obviously quite clearly your consideration is your family and your children, and that should be number one. But I think, when the opportunity comes, I think I'm sure Spirit will just push it your way, because even if you did it with children, and I'm not saying I know some of the mothers might go spare over doing that, but you could call it a creative drawing class, and you might find that the children are quite naturally gifted at doing it, but not realising they are doing it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a bit of a hidden agenda that would develop people spiritually, because wouldn't it be nice if the children were taught spiritually how to be meditative, how to naturally be free in what they do, and still learn their studies? Because I always found that children were never, you had to be 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, plus, that I still meet, and suddenly go, oh, so that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So
no, I definitely think that workshops might be something down the line. I've just got so many ideas, but they're kind of a little bit on hold.
Yeah, which they should be.
Summer holidays, and it was so difficult because I can't fit the drawings in that I wanted to do, and couldn't meditate, and it's difficult to feel spiritual when you've got 2 screaming children.
Oh, I can understand that. Now, with your 2 children, do you think either one of them is going to have a spiritual linking ability? That do you sense that or not at this stage? How old are your children, if I ask?
They're 11 and 12.
Oh, right. So they would be possibly Can you see one of them that maybe follow that, or do they think mum's a little bit mad and let you get on with it? Or are they interested?
I can see both of them being
Really?
like it. I've been told on several occasions my son will be. I mean, there's lots of telltale signs. They've seen orbs with their own eyes, and my son is obsessed with crystals. He's incredibly sensitive.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of little bits, even at this early stage.
Yeah.
Where I think, maybe if they wanted to, again, with hard work and practice, there's no reason why they couldn't go into healing or whatever it is that they get drawn to.
Yeah.
But,
I'm really pleased about that, because that's really good, because it sounds like your son, or both of your children are going to have an instinct to it. I mean,
important also is not to kind of like shove it down the neck.
Absolutely. Absolutely, that's the last thing. They'll draw to that if they feel they're going to do it, and whatever their trade's going to be in life on a practical level, they'll still do that, and then perhaps it will then switch on later on in life when it's the right time. For years it's been this work, working with great people like yourself and other people who are leading the way for the younger generation to come forward, or maybe the older ones who are just discovering it.
Yeah, well, I think people are opening up more spiritually. I mean, it's not so taboo or seen as anything to be silly about. And yeah, I do. I strongly believe that children seem to be more involved in it. Like
yes.
When you go to mind, body and spirit shows, there's loads of stuff to do for children now. There's like they're trying to get them in young. And that's why I think it's really important that, I've never kept it a secret from the children, and they don't like it when I put white sage everywhere, but they're used to it now, and my son actually likes it.
All right.
Have you saged my room? Have you saged the crystals? He gets really funny about it. He's certain crystals by his bed, and he can't sleep, and he's only 11, and I love all that, and I just think that things because I think the world has become, if I'm pardon my French, it's become a bit of a crappy place, especially recently.
Yes.
I think people are looking for a little bit of enlightenment to make things a bit better. Yeah,
I agree. A more balanced view on life, more holistic, which gives you your grounding and your strength and your belief system, because religion is only man-made, so that only works up to a certain level, and you've got to trust yourself and trust your spiritual light and the light that comes to you. So I agree with you 100%. I'm quite grounded with it all. I take it like a trade, learn the different aspects of it, and then try and pass that on in groups or whatever happens to be. And obviously with the power of the internet now, it's you can get everyone's doing everything on the internet, and we have a YouTube channel that runs now with a question and answer session that comes out of the groups, and the other part of it is meeting good people like yourself, discovering their pathway, how they do it quite naturally. And the lady I was interviewing yesterday is 92 years old, and she's as matter of fact as anything, and discovering it now, and really happy that she is. So thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed that, because I can see you're so genuine in what you do and what you're getting out there. Your children are exposed to it, but as you say, not rammed down their throat. They've obviously taken it on board. And when they're sort of probably another 5 or 10 years ahead, you may change your spiritual toolkit. You may be doing other things. I think you should be out doing seminars and talks in 5 years, and that sort of thing, and perhaps doing it to large audiences of, say, 200 or 300 people. Hire a lecture theatre and show them how to do it.
Oh, I've been told that as well. They've said you'll be on stage.
Yeah, I think you will.
You'll be drawing like Patrick Gamble, and I have to say, I take it with a pinch of salt, because it just seems, it's silly really, because when I was told I'd be doing this, I just didn't believe it, and I just thought that's impossible, and then a year later to be doing it, it's proof in itself.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
Oh, I think you will. As much as it frightened you, the thought of doing what you're doing, and you're doing it now, I clearly can see you doing that. The energy that's around you clearly indicates that there's so much more you're to do, and it'll be quite natural. You love doing what you're doing now, I can tell. And in 5 or 10 years' time, whenever it is, you'll love working it, because we need to share that with others so they can express themselves on a spiritual level.
Definitely.
But I won't.
Sorry.
Go on. I was going to say I won't worry you anymore, but I'm going to frighten you giving you any more information because you've already you've already been given it. But thank you so much for chatting to me today. I've really enjoyed it because you brought a very practical and natural energy to what was psychic artistry is spirit artistry. So thank you for your time, and maybe we can do this again when you've got your next phase of your development, and you can say, all right, Adrian, I know I had to do it, and you've got to that stage. So I wish you well with your work, and we'll leave it at that for now, and hopefully catch you again in the future.
Lovely, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
And there was nothing to be nervous about, was there, really, if you think about it, once we talked? We talked the same.
I really myself up, though.
I know you were, Chris was saying that, but I think the important thing is when you've got someone that's talking to you, and I'm not saying it in any altered ego way, who's in the same trade, there's an understanding of it, not a skepticism, although that can happen with certain people, and I face that. But when you're talking with someone who accepts that ability and that trade and has been working in the same genre, so to speak, it's more natural because you're just sharing that understanding, aren't you? There again, you've got the power of the internet, and maybe you should be doing more visually. Maybe you can do a question and answer session, or put some of your work out and do it and have a camera on you while you're drawing it, which you're going to hate by hear the sound of that. But someone could edit. You could probably edit it anyway with your experience.
Oh, the children are saying they need to do that.
There you are.
Looking down, and my son would make a good editor. He's very into computers.
Well,
he's actually done one of my YouTube videos. So
fantastic. So
yeah.
You know where you're being led. But thank you for your time today. It's been a pleasure. I'll say
you.
bye for now, and Chris will catch up with you soon. All right.
Lovely. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Got it.
Like a bird on a tree,